Hello, 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 everybody. This is Dr. Renita, and welcome to Leadership Live 2021, week 21. Hello, somebody. All right, we have reached week 21 of year 2021, and I am so excited to have you here today. Today. Thank you. Welcome. So happy to have you. And for those of you all who are trying to figure out what in the world is Leadership Live, Leadership Live is the sharing of journeys of amazing leaders. And what they do is help us to get better with the things that we do by learning the lessons from their journey. So it's something about learning through another person's experience and their knowledge, because knowledge plus experience is what? It's wisdom. That's exactly what it is, all day, every day. And for those of you all who are trying to figure out, well, who are you? Who are you to talk to me? Well, I am Dr. Renita, and I am an educational leadership strategist. So what that means is that I educate leaders to help them become more authentic, to help them empower their fellowship, as well as to make a greater impact. Not a greater, but a great impact. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I am also a veteran educator, having served grades kindergarten through college. I am the founder of The Refining Life, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide you with experiences so that you can have your mindset shifted and lead a more positive and productive life. I am also a wife and mother of four children I own two and I birthed two. And because of that blended family journey, I am also an author, the author of Stepmom, Trials, Tribulations, and Triumphs, as well as While You Are Sleeping, the Perfect Children of All Ages book. I am also a minister. I am a speaker. I am a trainer. I am a facilitator, and I am a queen. Those crowns behind you, oh yeah, they mean something. I am the current reigning Mrs. Black, North Carolina. I am also the Elite Southern Charms, North Carolina Ultimate Grand Supreme, as well as the East Coast USA Talent Performer of the Year. And I am super excited to be with you yet another week here on Leadership Live. Now, I hope all of that introduction just gave you a wonderful time to share, because you should be sharing. That's what leaders do. We share. And because I am sharing, I am going to share this space today, as I have been for the past 20 weeks. Well, here 2020, week 21 in 2021 is no different. I have a fabulous, amazing, gorgeous doctor here with me tonight. As a matter of fact, she's a diva, if you will, bringing to you here on Leadership Live, week 2021, Dawn Hicks Tafari, Dr. Dawn, if you will. Look at her. Ain't she fierce? Ain't she fierce?
Stop it. Stop.
Welcome, Dr. Dawn. It is so great to have you with us today. How are you feeling?
I am well. I'm feeling awesome. Pretty awesome. I'm excited to be here with you today, sis, to talk. Our journey together is pretty amazing. We met, you know, when we were both doctoral students, at the beginning of our program, and we connected then. You know how you find, and I know because you were there, just like I was there. We were kindred spirits. We just fell in love right away. We just fell in
Absolutely.
love. Like, we best friends. We gonna be best friends forever.
Which
And
was
so it's really
crazy.
nice.
I mean, it was that moment. It was like, I love her.
I love her. I love you. I love you. And so it's really nice to be in this space here today, because this is probably what? When did we meet? That was 2008. Probably 2008. I
Yeah,
think it was 2008 that we met. So here we are, all these years later, 13 years later. Wow. And it's really nice to share this space with you today. Look at all the amazing things that you're doing, Queen, Queen, literally and figuratively, and to be able to share journeys and talk good stuff about leadership and how we do that as empowered women.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I am excited to share you with my people who haven't met you, because I try to share my Dawn whenever I get a chance, because she's amazing. But Dawn, I'm going to give you place and space. Please tell the people about you and maybe a little bit about your topic for tonight.
Well, okay. So again, my name is Dawn Hicks, Dr. Dawn Hicks Tafari. I am an associate professor, a tenured professor at Winston-Salem State University. I teach in the Department of Education, and I'm currently the coordinator for our birth through kindergarten education program. And so what that means is I teach teachers how to teach. And I work with all people who want to become teachers, but I particularly work with people who want to teach young children, who want to teach the babies, who are what I say, your children's second teacher, right? Because parents are our first teacher. So I'm really passionate about teaching. I'm particularly passionate about social justice education and about looking at how race and gender impacts education, how race and gender and all of those identity markers, race, gender, sexuality, religion, ableness, right? How all of those things impact who and how we exist in academic spaces and in social spaces as well. So those are such important conversations to have. And it's such important conversations for teachers to talk about. Another important thing that I do is my platform, what I call my initiative, Love, Eat, Build, on Instagram and Facebook. So Love, Eat, Build. What kind of like one word, Love, Eat, Build. And that is all talking about how we need to love fully and completely, right? We oftentimes we give shallow love, right? Instead of being more deeply embodied in the love that we give, and not just love that we give to others, but the love that we give to ourselves, right? How we really embrace who we are and how we are and how we exist in the world. And so it's so important to love fully. Eat mindfully, right? And when I talk about, and so there's two ways, right, that I'm really talking about eating the foods that we consume, to be mindful about those things, because health is wellness, right? And excuse me, wellness is wealth, right? So if we're eating more mindfully, we can control, we be more proactive about our health. I always say you're going to pay on the front or on the back, right? So oftentimes if we eat a lot of junk and we don't eat mindfully, then we tend to pay with diabetes and heart disease and all of the illnesses and the dis-ease that come from not eating well. But if we tend to be more mindful, we end up paying on the front end, because we know in this country, you have to pay to eat well, right? You have to pay to eat well. So that, and to be mindful about your eating, and then build community everywhere you go, because we live to coexist. We are not, I've heard somebody once say, well, I was born alone, I'm gonna die alone. And I'm like, actually, that's not true. You were not born alone. We are created in our essence. We are embodied part of two other people, right? We come here as a result of this union of this sperm and this egg, right? Two other humans that had to get together to create us. And then we're born out of the womb of our mother, right? And then, so we're not born alone. We're not alone when we're born. And so we live to coexist. And so building community is about that. So love, eat, build is that. Love fully, eat mindfully, and build community as we go along our way. And then that brings me to what I want to talk about today, and what me and Dr. Renita want to talk about is the village, right? So I'm very passionate about West African culture and about my ancestral line, right? What it is and who I am and where for the line from which I've come. And so the village is a very important part of who I am and how I exist, because there's nothing that I have done. There's nothing that I am that is not a direct result of others pouring into me, right? I'm a result of those, and I am because you are, right? You and I are one. And so the village creates leaders. And as a result, leaders have to cultivate the village, right? In Spider-Man movie, Uncle, oh my goodness, what's his name? Peter's uncle says, with great power comes great responsibility. And that makes me think of the principal Kuumba in the Nguzo Saba, right? So the principal Kuumba is, oftentimes we think of Kuumba, we think of creativity and we think of singing and dancing, right? But Kuumba is really about leaving this earth better off than it was when you inherited it. Think about that. Leaving the earth better off than it was when you inherited it. So in other words, by being here, I have to do work just to make sure that I leave this place so that I am remembered, not because of what I took, but because of what I gave. My service is the rent that I pay for my space on this earth, right? I think Muhammad Ali said that first. My service, the service that you give is the rent that you pay for your place on this earth. So that is that if you live with that mindset, right? And that's how I start. That's the foundation. It's like, okay, I am here to serve. I live to serve. I am blessed with sunlight, right? And I give back energy, right? Think about just the trees, the trees that are right here next to us. They give off oxygen and I give off carbon monoxide. Isn't that, we ever think about the fact that in our very essence we live to coexist with nature. And so it's that when we think about not just nature, but we think about the village, right? The village, all of those people who surround us, all of those people, all those mamas and babas who are part of our being, who raise us up from children, who teach us different things, who grow us and cultivate who we are. It's our responsibility to give back. It's our responsibility to give back. So there's a couple of things that I think about when I think of this topic of how the village creates a leader and how the leader cultivates a village. The first thing is there are these three kawaida questions, right? The first one is, who am I? Right? Think about that. And it's easy to say, oh, I'm Dawn, I'm Black woman, right? But I mean, who am I? And we think about that. And then the second question is, am I who I say I am? Am I who I say I am? Because now you just said all the stuff that about who you are, but are you actually doing those things? Are you authentic in your walk? Right? Are you proud of your Blackness? If you say, oh, I'm a proud Black woman, are you really? Right? And then the third question is, am I all I ought to be? Wow. So I can be who I say I am, right? But am I all I ought to be? Can I be more? Can I do better? Can I live stronger? Can I be more happy, more fulfilled? Right? So that's about this working hard, right? And seeking and reaching goals and always having purpose, right? That's that Nia. And so when I think about those three questions, and I think about Kuumba, right, which is that idea of making sure that I leave this planet more enriched, right, than it was when I inherited it, right? I think of a couple of things that helped me on my journey to being a successful human and to being a good leader. One of those things is to be aligned and be in line with myself, right? Be aligned and be in line with myself. I have mentors, right? And so that's one of the ways that I make sure that I'm always on target. I make sure that I watch the people around me, whether they're women and men, mamas, babas, folk, right? I have mentors who guide me and give me support as I move my journey. But I had this one mentor who called me up one day, Dr. Ricks, Dr. Sean Ricks. Y'all probably know her. And she called me and she asked me to do some workshops for her. And I was like, well, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if Sean is asking me to do this, I probably should say, yeah. And she said to me, she said, I hear some hesitancy in your voice. And I want to tell you, it's okay to say no. She said, if this is not in line with your personal goals, then I want you to say. She said, I know it sounds crazy because I just called and asked you to do this for me. But if it's not aligned with your personal goals, I want you to say no. And she said, because it's important for you to walk your path. She said, this is my path. I'm doing and I would love to have you on my path with me, but you have to walk your path. And so we need to make sure that we're aligned. And that was one of the best pieces of advice anybody has ever given me. And it was a gift. It was like a gift that she had given me, that jewel. You know, you got to pick up the jewels when people drop them. And she had given me that. And I was so appreciative of that from her. So be aligned and be in line. And it was important because it's something that I've always remembered. It's something that I've always shared. but it's something that has helped me stay the course. It has helped me achieve my own goals. It has helped me to be successful, right? Now, another thing that I do as a leader, one way that I cultivate my village is I shut up and listen. Now, it's really easy when you think you know something to talk a lot, right? I got this PhD, so I could talk all day, right? But sometimes you just got to shut up and listen, right? Sometimes you just got to, whether you're listening to spirit, whatever that the universe is for you. Sometimes you just have to listen, sit up, shut up and listen. Sometimes it's meditation, right? Sometimes it's prayer. And an important part of prayer is not just about praying, it's about listening, right? It's about receiving those blessings. So shutting up and listen is such an important part of my leadership journey because, again, that's where a lot of my questions are answered. It's where a lot of my questions are answered. It's where a lot of the alignment happens when I'm confused, when I'm lost. When I shut up and listen, things get more clear for me. Example, my sis, one of my good friends, she's not feeling well, so we were bringing her some food. And I was in her neighborhood, and I had been to her home before, but I didn't remember her exact address. And so I was picking up the food, and I'm texting, and I'm like, "Hey, what's your address?" And she didn't respond. And I had the food now. I had picked it up. I had picked up the food, and I'm ready to go to her house. And she didn't respond. And I'm in a group text, and nobody is responding with the address. I'm like, I need the address. And I'm getting a little flustered. And I said, Dawn, shut up and listen. And I remembered where she lived. I said, she lives in this direction. So just drive. If I get lost, what's the worst that can happen? I get a little lost, right? I live in Greensboro. I know how to get around Greensboro pretty much. I can get back home. But I just drove. And as I was driving, I saw the street that looked familiar. And I said, I think she lives down this street. And again, shutting up and listening, right? To just the energy, just the spirit kind of guiding me along that path, guiding me on that journey to her home. And I found her home just that easy. I never got lost. And it really just took me shutting up and listening to find out where to go. Another time to shut up and listen, of course, is when elders are speaking, right? So my sisters, the Kwanzaa Collective, call me the elder whisperer, right? Because when an elder comes in and they have something to share, we have to honor and humble ourselves to receive the energy, the love, the knowledge that they are sharing with us. Why? For no other reason, because they have traversed this realm longer than I have. And now, yeah, you got old fools, but you also got plenty of young fools, right? And I trust that these elders, when they come into space with me, that they want to share something that is for my benefit, right? And now I can listen, I can receive that. Now, what I do with it after that is up to me, right? That's as a leader and as a critical thinker, I do that. But you gotta sit down and you gotta be willing to listen to it, because one of the other things I have found is that sometimes the lesson is not for you in this moment. Sometimes the lesson is for you tomorrow or next week or next month or next year, right? I had a mentor when I started at Winston-Salem State, an elder Baba, and he would come in and he had his friend was in the suite, the office next to mine in the suite. And he would peek his head in and he'd say, Dr. Tafari, how you doing today? And I'd say, whoo, I'm doggy paddling. I'm trying to keep my head above water. And he looked at me and he stepped into my office and he sat down. Now, I remember in that moment, I had a lot of work to do. I'm thinking to myself, I just told him that I am doggy paddling and I'm struggling trying to keep my head above water and get all the work done. But in that moment, I thought, shut up and listen, because this elder just stepped into your office and sat down. He has something to say. Listen. And so he sat there and he told me, and he put his head back and he started telling me stories. And he told me that he heard that I said I was doggy paddling. and he said, I want you to work on your stroke. And I looked at him, and he talked about swimmers, and he talked about the amount of energy that it takes to doggy paddle versus the amount of energy that it takes to stroke, to have a good stroke, a breaststroke, a backstroke while you're swimming. And the distance, and what doggy paddling does is it keeps you here, it keeps your head above water, but you're breathing hard and you're not really going anywhere. And the stroke was just much more effective. It was much more effective. And that is something that I've never forgotten. Can you see me? Okay, there we go. All right. So another thing, this is probably the last thing I want to share before we kind of have some self. Can you
I
see
say,
me?
I say you paused just a little bit. I wanted to make sure that
Okay.
make sure you can see me.
I can see you. I can
Okay.
see you. It sort of told me I was screaming. That's the technology is beautiful and it sucks at the same time.
All at the same time.
Right, right. And so this last thing I wanted to share was to check your village. CYV. Check your village, right? So you ask yourself, who am I? Am I who I say I am? Am I all I ought to be? Right? So you're aligned, right? You've decided what your purpose is, right? That you are here to provide service, right? The service is the rent you pay for your place on this earth. You are aligned and you're in line. You're listening. You're listening. You've shut up and you're listening to those around you. You put people, remember I said you get mentors, powerful mentors who can give you great information and great support. But you constantly want to do a check of your village, right? You constantly want to check your village because sometimes some people need to be benched, right? Just because somebody was in your village in 1995 don't mean they need to be in your village in 2021, right?
Better
Some
preach.
and people have a reason, right? We talk about a reason and a season. Sometimes there may be a mentor that you had who you needed to get you through college, right? There may have been a mentor that you had that you needed to help you form relationships, right? There may be mentors come into our lives for different reasons, right? Sister friends come into our lives for different reasons. Mamas and babas come into our lives for different reasons. So you constantly have to check your village to see who's there and to make sure that everybody is living up to their own purpose. Because just as you're doing your work, right, you're being aligned. You want to make sure that the people that you running with are also aligned, right? It's just like Sis Renita, you and I were talking about how we met at the beginning of our doc programs. What do we say, 13 years ago? And both of us are in different places now. Now, sis, I love you, but if you were still talking about now that you were thinking about taking some doctoral classes, and I was like, but you were saying that 13 years ago, you know, I might be a little concerned. I might not be as enamored by you as I am now because I see that you not just say it, but you do it and you walk the talk, right? And you're aligned with your vision and purpose and you're making stuff happen. And you're the kind of people that I like to keep in my village, right? Because we chase each other, right? We like, girl, what you doing? Uh-oh, let me get my stuff together. Right? We chasing each other. And that's what it's about. You got to have that healthy and not at all competition, that healthy love, because we cheering for each other.
Absolutely.
We cheering for each other. You know what I mean? So that's what checking your village is about. It's about making sure that the people who surround you are there to support you, that they're there to motivate you, that they are there for you to look up to. Right? I have one of my favorite sorors, Anna, she'd always say, if you're the smartest girl in the room, find another room. Right? Any arrogant person wants to be the smartest person in the room, right? But really, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm trying to learn. I need somebody whose feet I can sit at cross-legged, right?
Mm-hmm.
And learn some stuff, right? I want to be able to share and build, right? Remember, love, eat, build. I want to share and build and talk about what's going on and what do I know and what you know and how we can gain and grow and become better together. So it's all of that, right? It's all of that. All of those things are part of the village for me because it's an involved process. Cultivating. It's about giving and receiving constantly.
Absolutely. Woo, honey, if you only knew how many notes I have written on this piece of paper. And my good allergies are having a time with me, but here we go.
Here we go.
Into the night. Okay, so for everybody who just jumped on, welcome. We're gonna start chewing on everything that Dr. Dawn just laid on. We're gonna act like there's some good smoothie bowl type. Okay, because I am a love, eat, build fan. And so let me tell you, I know about a good acai bowl.
Yeah.
And now the bee pollen, we're gonna have a whole discussion about bee pollen because I'm afraid of it because I'm allergic to pollen, but maybe I should ingest it more so I don't.
Well, the bee pollen is from bees.
Right.
So it's one of those things, it's not vegan, it's vegetarian, right? It's made from bees and it actually helps to prevent allergies.
So it's like local honey.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's what bee pollen is more like. Mm-hmm.
So just so everyone just noticed, that was the village in action. You go ahead and you ask your village members who may know more about certain things about those things so that you can learn. See, like Dawn said, I am one of those people who I get excited every single time I know I'm going to have some special time with Dr. Dawn. I can sit crisscross applesauce all day at her feet and we can just talk and I can learn and grow and prayerfully also pour. So like I talked with Tasha Richardson a few weeks ago and we talked about being not just being a straw, but also being a pitcher. You want to pour into other people. You don't want to just suck out of them. But know that you're going to do both.
Right.
But make sure you're not always the straw. Be a pitcher.
Absolutely. Right? That's the give and take. Right? It's like how dare you lay here and soak up all this sun and not give anything back to this earth?
Absolutely.
And not do anything to give back to it. Like you get all of this, you get all this amazing sun. How can you not just some human person pushed you out of her womb? And for those of us who have given vaginal birth,
hello, somebody. It's an event.
It's an event. You have been blessed with life. What are you now doing with it? Like everything you do, every breath you have requires gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
Gratefulness. Like I think about, like, especially in now the times we're living in the Rona, there are people whose breath is so labored, right? And who are struggling to breathe. And so sometimes I'm just grateful just to have unlabored breath.
Right.
Just to be able to wake up and to not be troubled by illness. So there's so much that we have to be grateful for. And because of that, we have to constantly work for others. We have to constantly support the village and give back and work hard for others. It's our responsibility. It is our duty.
It is our duty. And for those of us who are calling ourselves leaders, if that's what you are, then be that. If that's what you call yourself. So this it's just so many things. Okay, here we go. We're going to start at the top of my notes. Here we go. So the whole idea, and so you just bought a part of this, the whole idea of leaving the earth better off than when you inherited it. Mm-hmm. So as a leader, my goal is to help people to make a greater impact, to help them empower their followership, to help them become more authentic in who they are. But in that greater impact, it is leaving the earth better than when you inherited it. So you should leave the ground better, people better, everything you're connected to better. So one of the things my mother says to me all the time when you go somewhere or when you are in a space, leave it better than you found it, baby. Leave it better than you found it. So she is one who is constantly, she's going to pick up your knickknacks. She's going to rearrange them. If she can wipe something down, she will. She is famous for going to the bathroom and cleaning the bathroom while she's in there. Even if it's not really dirty, it don't have to be dirty. And she said she's going to leave it better than she found it. And so that is something that I've always carried with me. She is literally my mother, my mama, but she is a lot of people's mama. And so that's something she gives to people. You talking about your ancestors and your elders and sitting at their feet and learning from them. But that's one of those things. And so it can be something as simple as straightening up a bathroom when you go to the bathroom. Or it could be you walk into an organization, it's a hot flaming mess. How can you leave it better without causing more damage? Even though sometimes you gotta tear things up.
Right. Leaders cultivate others. Right. Leaders cultivate others. What are you leading? Who are you leading if you come in and everything is still a hot mess after you leave? Right? You know what I mean? Think about one of the best things that I think a leader can do. When I say a most effective leader comes into a place and they watch, they observe, and they identify the talents of others.
Well, they shut up and listen.
You shut up and because you got to do that. In order to see other people's talents, you got to shut up and listen. So you shut up and listen. And you say, okay, you're good at this. You're good at this. You got to do. And then, of course, you don't just go with your own observation. You talk to people and you say, well, I see. It looks like you really enjoy creating budgets. Is that something you really like? Yes, I really love that. Okay, great. You're part of the team, and this is what you're going to do on the team, right? You put together a team, right? An effective leader has a team. An effective leader doesn't do everything by themselves. Right. An effective leader builds a team. They build a team, and then they let everybody play to their strengths. They let everybody play to their strengths, and you sit there and you be like, yes, you just killed that. That budget that you created yesterday was the bomb diggy. I don't even know how you do it, sis, but let me tell you something.
You better budget when you budget.
Sorry.
You better budget when you budget.
You budget, you be killing that budget, son. And use your creativity. You got the greeting cards. I work on one of the organizations. I am the Critical Race Studies and Education Association. And I serve as one of the things that we were planning. I'm on the conference planning committee. And they said, well, they asked, what do you want to do? Like, what do you feel you want to contribute to the conference as part of what do you think we need? And I said, hospitality. I said, I feel like what's missing is oftentimes we have registration, we have these people doing these different things, but we don't have somebody there to pick up all the stuff that falls in the cracks. Right? We oftentimes don't have somebody to take care of that elder who's there and needs who is confused about the layout of the conference center, or we don't have that person. A lot of times you have people who attend conferences by themselves. And that person may want to have dinner with somebody. So maybe, you get together some people to have lunch together or have dinner together or something like that. But I said, I'll be the hospitality coordinator. And so I did that, right? And then part of my job is I gather other folk who want to make the conference better for other people. And I said, well, what do you want to contribute? What do you want to contribute? And it's just such a beautiful experience when you have a group of people who all just want to help and are eager to contribute using their own skills and talents and strengths. We create a village. And then it's a beautifully flowing village because we all respect the role that each other plays.
Oh, can we take a pause right there? We all respect the roles that other people play. I think that is something that especially women leaders or nurturing leaders, because not all women leaders are nurturing leaders. But it's typically a feminine trait that when you look at it. And these nurturing leaders feel so much as a leader that they need to take over everything. They need to do everything. They need to massage everything. They need to just be the superpower over everything. And that is where we get into this lane drifting.
Woo.
Leaders should not be a part of the Tokyo drift.
Right. Remember, I said before, be aligned and be in
It's
line.
fine. Right.
That's part of that.
Line.
Stay
Can
in
we
your lane. Listen,
find your line? How can
and
you line and you don't know where your line is? You never look down to figure out where the line was. Find your line. Your line may go like this, but follow that one.
follow that one and stay off my line.
Simple.
You in your line. I'm in my line. I'm quick to tell somebody that ain't my ministry.
And that's not my ministry, or I'm gonna stay in my lane. This is my lane is over here. I got that from a wonderful. She worked in HR, and I just will never forget her, Joyce. And she would come into meetings, HR meetings, and she would come in. She would cross her legs, especially when something where somebody had gotten a letter of some sort, and she was like, "You know what? The best thing you can do here to improve this, stay in your lane. You apparently have gone outside of it." And that stuck with me so good. And so I have been staying in my lane and telling others to do the same for so long now because of her. I was crisscross applesauce and I didn't even know it in the middle of a meeting, just observing.
Hello.
But it will teach you to find your line so that you can stay aligned. You cannot be aligned with something you don't check.
Right. Right. And if you are aligned and in your own line, then you can work on perfecting yourself.
Right. And
right?
you can encourage others to do the same.
Right. It makes, if you're not busy worrying about what everybody else is doing, then you can really be really good at being you. Right. Being you, and I keep in mind, being you is about serving, right? For me, being me is about serving and taking care of, but I got to make sure that I'm doing that in the way that is divinely ordained for me.
For me. Right.
I can't be looking at, well, Renita, what you doing over there? Because Renita, that's not being in line. I need to, if sometimes being in line may be, Renita says, what you need? There's something I can do for you. How can I support you today? Right? That's different than being like, Renita, you're not doing that right. You're not, what you doing over there? What you doing? You want me to do that for you? Give me. That's different, right?
Support versus replace you.
That's not
I
leadership.
don't want to replace you. I don't want to do it for you. I want to support you in doing it yourself.
Right.
Completely different thing.
That's the village. The village works together. It's united. It's about bringing together the moving parts. It's the jigsaw puzzle. It's taking all the pieces of the puzzle and making that beautiful landscape or that beautiful image that is a jigsaw puzzle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before I get to these 3 questions, I do want to have you just bring up for a minute or discuss for a minute. We talk about serving the village. We talk about being aligned and being in line. But one of the pieces of the topic tonight was how the village creates a leader. And to me, when you brought that up, it made me think of this kind of emergence of this person, like they bloom out of something because of these things that are going on. Like they were a part of it, but they end up blooming, like just coming out. It just this what the picture was in my mind was this beautiful moment of, and this person is there. Right. They're still connected to all these other things, but something about them in that moment, in that time, is needed, and so this leader is created. And maybe they didn't start that way. Maybe they were just a village member, right? And they become a village leader. When you, because you had like a few topics, and that one we were like, yes, that topic. But when you were thinking about the idea of the village creating the leader, what did you have in mind?
I am the sum of my lived experiences. Sum, S-U-M. I am all of the people I have ever interacted with. I'm all of the teachers I've ever had. I'm all of the places I've ever lived. All of that. is a part of who I am. So every single person that I have interacted with, especially my teachers, especially my mentors, have impacted me, right? It's like I said, when you shut up and listen and you get that advice, and sometimes it's effective right then and now, and sometimes it's something that you do later on, right? I didn't really understand what Dr. Bell was talking about, work on your stroke. I was like, this old man, I got stuff to do now. I can't be stroking. What's he talking about? Work. I don't even swim like that. What is he talking about? But I don't even swim like that. Like, I'm a black woman. You think I'm getting in the pool my hair? What are you talking about? But because I know to shut up and listen, I just took it and I said, okay, just put that in your pocket. If it's not relevant, if it doesn't feel right in this moment, just put it in the pocket. Just stick it down and just put it out for a while. And the amount of times that I have used that since then. And I mean, he said this to me maybe 8 years ago.
Wow.
And that's one of those things that really lives with me now. Like, as I have matured, is to really understand what that means to work on my stroke, to really pace myself, work on being more effective in my approach and not rushing to try and get something done right away. Sometimes you have to slow down, right? It's part of that shut up and listen. And so that village is all of those people who remember that they have individual purposes, right? That they're here to serve, that part of your purpose is to serve and to make other people's lives better, to make the world better. And just in doing those things, you oftentimes are contributing to the building of another leader. Especially as educators. I think about the things that I've said or done when I was teaching in Brooklyn in 1998. And I have grown people come to me today and say, remember when you said, or remember when you did, and because you said that to me, that built my confidence, or I did. And I'm blown away because I'm like, wow, I just said that on I was just being silly that day or whatever. But you never know how you're impacting people when you are living in your purpose.
Right.
Walking. And so I think that's part of it. Part of the village creating leaders doesn't always happen intentionally. Like, it's purposeful because it's divine, right? Everything is in divine order, right? But it's not like everybody sits around and says, we're going to make her a leader. Like, it's not that, right? It's when the village is working well, then, like you said, those things blossom, those leaders blossom when the mamas are being mamas, right? And when the mamas are taking care of the young folk, and when the babas are coming through, like I said, Dr. Bell, he stepped in my office and he saw something.
Right.
I didn't know what he saw. I didn't say I need help, but he saw something. And he said, because he knows, because he's a baba, right? Distinguish between a baba and a man, right? A baba is an elder man who has taken on and accepted the responsibility of caring for others.
Right.
Right. And so he recognized something and he said, I need to tell her this. I didn't ask for it, but he knew that I needed it. Right. And so that's the kind of stuff, right? And that's he had no idea that I would be who I am, right? That I would remember that years later and be talking about that on this live with you 8 years later. But he knew that I needed whatever was in him from his village, right? Knew that look on my face, I needed to hear something. And he knew that I would receive it. And even if I didn't put it into practice in that moment, that I would put it in my pocket and pull it out later when I needed it. And so I think that's what the village is, right? It's about that individual knowing. It's about that individual alignment. That you know what you're here to do. When you know what you're here to do, then you drop those jewels. You play your role. As Mama J always said, play your position, right? You play your position and you do those little things that you're supposed to do. And it all is a part of growing that seed. It all becomes a part of it. And it just works out so masterfully and so beautifully all the time.
Yeah. And so you talk about, understanding your line, but it's beautiful. So I think that those jewel moments happen, like when he told you that juicy piece of wisdom, it's because his line intersected with your line.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so, so those moments where some people's lines intersect for a while, like I am more than grateful. I still remember the night I met you. And so our lines intersected that day. And thankfully our lines are staying there. Right.
Right.
Because like you said, we're able to be pitchers to each other, and even straws with
Right.
each other, but our lines are still, going. But sometimes those lines intersect and you think that they've stopped touching, but sometimes they come back, which is just it's just so amazing to think about it, like with my village. So a lot of times when I'm teaching village, and sometimes I don't even use that word, but I teach village a lot. But I've started using the idea of circles.
Circles.
And so concentric circles. And so looking at yourself as like a center part of a circle and how these other circles are around you.
Right.
And how people may jump to different parts of circles. So I talk about levels of leadership, and how some people are in your level 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. But then I remember one time teaching, talking about, so we talked about concentric circles, but then we talked about intersecting circles, and how at any given point in time, you're a center of a circle, like in the middle of a circle, but then you're also on the outside of somebody else's circle. So govern yourself accordingly.
Hello. So accordingly,
but just understand that you have roles and people have roles for you, but people may jump in and out of those circles, and that's okay. Or maybe while your circle is going around or rotating around this thing in the middle, maybe it falls off axis or things change and there's a different way you need to intersect. But know that it matters. Those moments of intersection matter, and do something with them.
And do something with them. Absolutely.
Be the village.
And that's why it's so important to answer those three, to not just answer those 3 questions, but to reflect on them. Who am I? Am I who I say I am? And am I all I ought to be? Because you have a responsibility to other people. The people who you, as you're in your line, or right on your circle, the people who you intersect with, you impact those people. You're going to influence those people one way or the other. It's up to you to decide if it's going to be a positive impact or a negative impact, but you're going to impact them.
Right. And even if it's positive or negative, or even to that regard, how great it is. So, I mean, we could have intersected and still be intersected for all this time and could have had a mediocre impact on the other person.
Yes.
If we did not intentionally impact greatly. As leaders, we chose that great impact. We choose that great impact. Yes. Every single time we make effort to, if nothing else, just tell a story.
Right.
Tell a story about what you're going on. The power of storytelling,
yes,
has kept cultures alive. But that's because they are leaders who are choosing to impact, if by no other method, just telling their story of their experience through something. Some lives have been changed. Lives have been saved because someone told the story.
Somebody told the story. That's one of the things that I do. So each year when I turned 40, I started to think about, I was approaching 40, and I was thinking about how important what 40 is as a milestone for Black women in particular. And I said, maybe I should spend some real intentional time reflecting on the lessons that I've learned. And so I developed this concept of 40 days of dawn. And so 40
this changed my life. Like, go ahead, tell it, but
love it. And so 40 days before my 40th birthday, I started this countdown, day 1 of 40, day 2. And each day I would reflect on, I would just share a life lesson. And I decided to do it on Facebook. I could have done it in my own journal, a private journal, but something about me said, one of the things that I need to learn is transparency, is greater transparency. Because part of what I do in my life, part of my life journey is to impact others.
Yes.
Right. I always say I'm an extreme extrovert. So I live out loud and I live in front of people. And that's what I do. That's not for everybody. But that's my journey. Right. So I said, well, let me do this. So I started doing the 40 days of dawn, and my inbox was on fire.
Oh,
People
it
were
was
talking
so
to me.
good. I remember that first year.
But it was so amazing. I had no idea. I thought people would like and say, oh, that's really cool. That's really nice. But people, the things that people shared with me on the thread, they would inbox me. They would say, oh my God, thank you for your transparency. And then I was like, okay, great. So then I think I forgot to do it at 41. Like a couple of years went by and I didn't do it. And then I think I caught up again for 44 or 45. And then by then I had gone through a divorce. I was recently going through a divorce. And so I'm sharing all of these things about myself, right? And putting myself out there. And again, my inbox was on fire. People were like, oh my God, I can't tell you how many women called me or inboxed me to tell me they were feeling the same way or they were going through similar things. And it was so therapeutic and I'm no counselor, right? Again, I know my ministry is, and it's not. I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I'm not a counselor. But these sisters just needed somebody they needed to feel seen. And a lot of them felt seen just from me sharing my journeys. And so now I do that 45, 46 days of dawn. I just finished my 47 days of dawn leading up to, because I feel like you have to earn. That was the concept behind this. Like, I got to earn 47. Mm-hmm. What am I doing to earn these 47 years? The least that I can do is to stop and sit and think about each day, 47 days, to intentionally reflect on lessons learned that will make me a better person, a better mother, a better lover, a better partner, a better friend, a better leader, right? What are those things? And it really is necessary for me to constantly be in this place of doing this self-work so that I can serve others better.
Well, let me tell you, I remember that first year of 40 Days of Dawn. And I was like, this is so good. I look forward to every day because I was learning with you. Yeah. And I was journeying with you. I was like, this is so good. But I think about leaders. Leaders do this, should do this all the time. Because if you're being authentically you, you're not afraid to show up as yourself fully. And that means flaws and all. That means the good, the bad, the ugly. And so what the way I've termed it is, you show up all that. You show up with your total, honest, awesome truth. But you got to know when to tell the stories. Some people overshare, like it's just not time. So your village is not there for you to dump.
Right.
There are, once again, those jeweled moments, those times where it's needed, even when it's going to be somebody's later lesson. Like that swim stroke thing, that I have that story now. I'm grateful for it. But it was something he knew you needed in that moment, even though it was going to be a lesson for later. That was something for your pocket, but he had to tell you then. It's no telling what else was going on with him. But his spirit said, tell her now. She needs it now. She'll get it later.
She'll get it later. Right. And that's the thing also with my sharings, with my days of dawn sharings. I try to be very intentional. I don't give them a whole lot of thought. I don't plan them in advance, which is the interesting thing. Oftentimes I sit down and I create the post and I say, okay, what's on your spirit? What's on your spirit to talk about? And sometimes I'll make a note. I'll say, oh, this is on my spirit. Oh, talk about this tomorrow. Right. But I don't like to sit down and write them out like I do when I'm preparing a talk or something. And so, but I am mindful about what is beneficial to share, right? Like I said, it's a very intentional sharing. It's like, this is important, but this might be too much. You don't need to say that, Dawn, but you can, but that's good to say. Go ahead and say that. That's just enough, right? But you know what I mean? And like you said, you don't want to dump But I have my therapist. That's what she's for, right? I stay in therapy. I get checkups, right? I get my checkups. And when I was going through my divorce, that was something I did for me and my daughters. And we went into therapy, and it was very, very helpful and therapeutic, which is what
Right.
therapy is for, right? And then every now and then I'll check in with her. I'll make an appointment. And how you doing, Dawn? And how you doing, girl? And we talk. And it's so helpful for me in helping me to continue to traverse my journey in a way that I don't have to dump. It gives me a healthy place to dump, right? It gives me somebody who's going to tell me like it is without concern about me being her friend. She like,
Right.
you ain't my friend. You paying me for this truth, girl. I'm gonna give it to you.
Right. You came here, know what you walked in the door and asked for.
Right. One time I tell you, I was a mess. And I tell you, when I tell you she pulled her hair back and put Vaseline on her face and took her earrings out, metaphorically, I felt like, I was like, woo, child, I just got beat all up and down this therapy session today. Because I was a mess. But that was what I needed. And she knew I needed that, right? Because that's what she does. Right. That's her walk. That's her walk. And so yeah, man, it's important to just live. One of the things I always say is live fully. And another one of my favorite hashtags is better than yesterday.
Yes.
Every day that I live, I just want to be better than yesterday. Better than yesterday. Can I serve better? Can I be a better leader? Can I be a better friend? Can I be a better person? Better than yesterday, a better mother. Better than yesterday. Because yesterday is gone. I've learned some lessons, right? I've learned some lessons. I've thought about that. I'm doing the self-work. Tomorrow's going to be better. I'm going to be better than yesterday.
And you know what? And that, because we all are villagers some way, somehow, because you choose to be better than yesterday, you are in turn making your village better than it was yesterday.
I'm Shay.
If we could all do it.
If we could all do it.
If we could all do it. But you know what? We have certain village members to help support us on those days when we literally can't do it. Like I don't have it in me to intentionally be better than I was yesterday. I'm not in that space. Maybe I need that therapeutic place to dump and I don't have it. I haven't taken the effort to get it, or I don't have the resources to get it right now. Or there's some other things going on in my life. Because I think about some of my darkest days. I couldn't think about being better than yesterday because all I was doing was scratching and surviving. Good times reruns play often in this house. But I was scratching and surviving. And so I couldn't think about being better than yesterday. But because my village was in a different space than I was, and they were in that, I'm being better than I was yesterday. And because I'm better than I was yesterday, I am able to be a great support to this member of my village who can't do it right now.
And that's why it's so important for everybody to stay in their lane.
Right.
Because if we're all doing the same thing, then we're all going to be burnt out all at the same time. Right? And so if I'm doing this and you're doing this, when I get tired doing this, you can pick up the load. Right? When you get tired, I can pick up the load. Right? That's why it's so important for us to stay aligned and be in line with ourselves. Absolutely. And to shut up and listen, because then we know what's going on with those people around us. Then we know when they do need help. Instead of thinking, oh, I know what you need, I can help you. Instead, if I'm listening to you, then I can really provide to you the service that you need, right? And isn't that the difference between equity and equality?
Yeah.
Right? You giving you what you need instead of what I feel I want you to have. It's about giving you what you need. And that's what we need to be doing more better at. That's what we
more
need
better at and stop. But we also need to think about get more broad in our idea of listening, because listening is seeing, listening is also hearing, listening is feeling. All of that is listening, and if we do that actively, oh goodness, how much better as leaders and as people we can serve.
Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Dawn, we've reached our hour.
Hello.
I try to be respectful of the people's time, even though we could go all day.
all day, every day.
Is there some piece, something that you want to share, one last thing, and then also remind the people how they can follow Dr. Dawn, because I am sure so many are now like, oh my goodness, how has she not been in my life my whole life?
So I will first tell you, so I'm on Facebook, Dr. Dawn Hicks Tafari. That's my page on Facebook, Dr. Dawn Hicks Tafari, or Love Eat Build. If you look up Love Eat Build, the word Love Eat Build, no periods or anything, Love Eat Build. On Instagram and on Facebook. Instagram, Love Eat Build, and Facebook, Love Eat Build, or Dr. Dawn Hicks Tafari. I'm also on Twitter at Dr. Dawn H Tafari. And Tafari is like animal safari, but with a T. So that's my contact info. My little vitamin reminder. Okay. And so I think the most important thing, again, is to shut up and listen. This has been something that has been so important in my life lately. Is just really slowing down and paying attention to all of the signs that the universe presents, all of the messages that spirit delivers, all of the things that other people need, all that's going on in the world. Pay attention and really be aligned with what it is your divine purpose. I think that's probably something that's just so important for me, and it has been an important message for me this year. And then to remember to live fully. Live fully, again, with aligned with your divine purpose. You can't live for anyone else. You have to live fully in your own, stand in your own power, and do what it is that you love and that you want to do, so that you can find joy.
Mm.
You can find joy.
Amen. And Ashe.
Amen. Ashe all day.
All day. Well, Dr. Dawn, you already know, honey.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So just thank you for sharing with us this week, for encouraging us as leaders, for helping us become better and do better and serve better. We will love, eat, and build,
Yes.
more greatly because of you. So thank you. Thank you
For having me. This has been a wonderful time. This has filled me up. I'm good for the week. I'm good.
Yes. Well, everyone out there, I pray that you have enjoyed this week. I hope that you have been positively impacted by this week's Leadership Live 2021, week 21, which is bananas that we're in week 21 of the year 2021. But as you can see, I'm not here to let you down. Every week we have someone who is fabulous coming to us, and Dr. Dawn, of course, was on top of that A game this week. But know that next week for your week 2022, 2021, week 22. Woo! It's all getting jumbled in here, but it's all good. I will be back with you with another amazing and fabulous leader. Just be ye also ready. Just be ready. As you can see, 21 weeks now. Minds have been blown every single Monday night at 9 o'clock. But no, I'll be right back here with you. Dr. Dawn, we thank you again. Everyone who was here today live, and if you are watching the replay, make sure you throw in that hashtag replay. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and I pray that this encourages you, like I say every week, to lead all the way live. I love you, and I'll see you next week for week 22 of Leadership Live. Bye.
Thank you.